After almost 60 years of strong bipartisan support, Congress has cut all federal funding for public media, stripping away a critical pillar of support for local stations like ours. At Vermont Public, we'll lose at least $2 million this year. If all our sustaining members increase their gift by $7 per month, we'll close that gap for good. Increase your gift today and help close the gap at vermontpublic.org/update.
From Vermont Public, this is The Frequency. I'm Mitch Wertlieb. It's Wednesday, September 10th, and here are today's headlines. Burlington is using more than $2 million in state money to develop an overdose prevention center. The City Council voted Monday to accept a state grant for the project. People will be able to come to the center to use illicit drugs under medical supervision. Advocates say it's necessary to curb overdose deaths. Some councilors say they are skeptical about the project, but they ultimately voted unanimously to accept the state money. Councilor Mark Barlow says Burlington already houses most of the county's social services.
But what's desperately needed right now more than ever is statewide coordination of regional responses to solving these crises, with shared responsibility across municipalities for those in need. Burlington can no longer address this issue alone.
The city has tasked the nonprofit Vermonters for Criminal Justice Reform to run the center. They still need to find a location for it. A former director of the Vermont Council of Special Education Administrators faces felony embezzlement charges. The Montpelier Police Department said in a press release that Darren McIntyre embezzled more than $76,000 from the organization. The group supports special education administrators and school employees across the state. Police say McIntyre used company money for personal gain during his tenure as executive director from 2021 to 2023. He's scheduled to appear in Washington County Superior Court next week. Now, you may have noticed that it's gotten chillier, and forecasters say it's about to get colder still, with freezing temperatures coming soon in Vermont. Several Vermont towns came close to freezing weather Monday night. Canaan and Wheelock saw lows of 34 and 33 degrees, respectively. Maureen Hastings is a forecaster with the National Weather Service in Burlington.
We're kind of right on track with kind of some of our first places seeing frost in early September. So things are running right close to normal.
Freezing temps have already hit some parts of New York. Saranac Lake recorded a rather brisk 29 degrees just yesterday morning. And as the days do grow cooler, apple season arrives once again in New England. But this year, orchards across the region are contending with intense drought conditions. Jeremy Delisle is a field specialist with the University of New Hampshire's Cooperative Extension. He says it's important for apples to have regular water as they're growing because that transports nutrients to the fruit and helps it grow bigger.
Farmers are definitely hoping for rain, but have also been preparing for this now for a number of years. We tend to be getting more and more familiar with these sort of field conditions.
As human-caused climate change drives more intense rain along with periods of heat and drought, Delisle says many growers have invested in water-saving efforts like cover cropping, no-till practices, and irrigation. Many are also using more drought-resistant crops. All that work does seem to be paying off, according to Delisle. This year probably won't be the biggest apple crop the region has seen, but he says there will be plenty of fruit for the picking. Coming up, states face losing federal grants for a national sex education program unless they comply with the Trump administration's stance that there are only two genders. We'll hear how Vermont education officials are hoping to get around that provision. That's after this.
Thanks for listening to The Frequency, where support comes from SRH Law, believing that values and mission still matter. When you need good counsel for your values-based work, whether it's securing our energy future, building affordable and sustainable communities, or advancing a values-led economy, they're here to help you make a difference. SRHLaw.com. Making a difference is our practice.
Vermont health officials say the state will stop using federal money to implement parts of its sex education curriculum. This comes after the Trump administration threatened to cancel grants to states for a sex ed program known as PrEP. The administration ordered states to remove references to gender identity from their education materials. It's already cut funds to California because that state refused to comply. Carter Sherman is a reporter with The Guardian. She spoke with Vermont Edition's Michaela Lafrac about what the demands could mean for Vermont.
So PREP is short for Personal Responsibility Education Program. And basically the idea behind PREP is that it is specifically trying to help at-risk youth navigate understanding what STIs, condoms, and safe sex might look like in terms of preventing pregnancy. And it's funded to the tune of about $75 million annually.
And that money is doled out to all 50 states?
Nearly. As of recently, I think it is 46 states and territories that receive money from PREP.
Recently, just a couple weeks ago, there's a big change with this federal funding that is typically given to California. What happened there?
So several months ago, the Trump administration sent a letter to California saying that California had to remove references to genders other than male and female from their PrEP-funded curricula. So references to things like some men being born with female anatomy, some women being born with male anatomy, those had to go. And California said that it was not going to comply with that demand. And as a result, it lost its PrEP funding. It is now down about $12 million in funding for sex education.
Now, the Department of Health and Human Services sent this letter to California a couple of months ago. It also sent similar letters to many other states, including Vermont. Is there a common theme here about what they're all being asked to change?
They're all being asked to change references to quote-unquote gender ideology. So the Trump administration sent out this letter to 46 states and territories and specifically listed off many references that they said had to be stripped out of the curricula in order for the states or territories to continue receiving that money. I've actually been reaching out to many of those states and territories to ask them what they plan to do. And so far, a number have said that they haven't yet made a decision, but there are a handful that are agreeing to remove those references.
Now, I want to share with you, Carter, and with our listeners, the response that we got from the Vermont Department of Health about the letter that they received from the federal government, what they plan to do about it. I'll read that here. Vermont will stop using federal funding for aspects of the curriculum. Within our existing budget, the health department will ensure that funding is available to continue the portion of the curriculum that includes information involving gender. This will allow PrEP to continue operating without modification to the curriculum or interruption to the use of material that's long been in alignment with our statewide educational practices. We maintain our commitment to evidence-based public health programs that meet the needs of all Vermonters, including those in the LGBTQ+ community. So again, that's a statement from the Vermont Department of Health. Carter Sherman with the Guardian. What do you think of Vermont's response there? Is it unique or similar to what other states are saying?
I mean, it is similar to what California has said. And I think the thing that's important to remember here is that this can have a huge impact on LGBTQ+ students. Those students face sky-high and increasing rates of bullying, harassment, and suicide. And so when I've talked to educators about what it could mean for states to take out these references, it would mean that these students could be in more danger. And so I think that for states like Vermont and California, these states are saying, you know, we have to act in alignment with our values or even our laws in some cases, and that sets up a clash with the federal government and what the federal government is mandating that they do.
And the Vermont Department of Health also noted that PrEP does not fund an in-school curriculum in Vermont. The funding goes to community-based organizations who utilize the program in youth-centered community settings. So that might be an important distinction to highlight as well.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about PrEP and about really sex ed overall is that it can be incredibly different from community to community, from state to state, because so much sex ed policy is really set at the local level. However, the federal government has so much power to determine the course of the conversation over sex ed because it pours so much money into it.
That was Guardian reporter Carter Sherman speaking on Vermont Edition. You can hear more about sex ed in local schools on the latest Vermont Edition in the show's podcast feed or at vermontpublic.org. Thanks for listening to The Frequency today. We had additional reporting from Liam Elder-Connors, Adia Galston, Nathaniel Wilson, and the New England News Collaborative. Today's episode was edited by Stephanie Colombini, and our music is by Blue Dot Sessions. I'm Mitch Wertlieb, and I'll talk to you soon.